Hey, folks. This mini lecture is going to talk about, about tips for success for the management decision report. This is the flagship assignment for the course. It's intentionally different from an academic paper. It's meant to mirror more how managers are really going to ask. They're going to ask you for a decision. They don't need a full research paper. I want you to define a problem, evaluate options, use your tools, use tools and judgment to help inform your recommendation, but then make a clear recommendation to them that they can act on. This semester, we're partway through the semester. This is a good time to kind of take a step back, make sure you're on track, and start to really lean into this assignment. So, what is this assignment about? Like I said, it's not a traditional research paper. It's a professional recommendation to your boss or to the leadership team. Your goal isn't to just summarize information in some thick report that no one wants to dive into. It's to help leadership make a decision. So, a weak report is going to explain the topic, talk about the issues. A strong report is really going to help somebody decide what to do. Everybody's picked their problems by now. And as you start to get into this, think about, did you box yourself too big? Is it too wide of a problem for you to address? And think about maybe narrowing it in to something that you can actually make realistic recommendations. If it's too broad, if your topic is too broad, you might find yourself coming up with recommendations that are too broad. So think about that as you kind of start to hone in on making recommendations and working through these tools. Did you start too big, and maybe there's an area within that you can focus in on and keep your recommendations more specific. Another tip is to don't wait to the very end of going through all of these tools to decide which direction you're going to go. I think you should probably already have an idea of where you want to go, and then start to use these tools to test that and to start to help you truth your hypothesis. I think if you waited to the very end and worked through all these tools, you might set yourself up for a lot of pressure. So the tools really are there to test, refine, and challenge your recommendation as you're kind of working through it. So the tools, are kind of helping you refine that recommendation. About the tools, this week you've got to select tools. Don't just select them at random. This is a great opportunity to work with AI to put your topic in there and start to talk and put all the tools in there and start to have conversations with AI. Which tools would be most useful in this scenario? Help you refine the tools that you're going to select. Tools should help you think clearly. They should fit the problem. They should help strengthen your recommendation. And, not every tool you choose is going to be a home run. Some might be less useful than expected, and I think that's fine. Explain that. in your analysis. Hey, we ran this tool and here were the results, and here's why we're not going with those results, or we're going to go contrary to those results, or they weakly support our argument. The goal isn't for you to pick 10 of these items and just fill out 10 worksheets. It's to use these tools to help you make a better decision, right? To really support an informed decision that you can live with, that you can stand behind. When that's implemented and somebody starts to say, implemented your decision and somebody starts questioning it, hey, here's the 10 things I did. Use these industry best practices to help inform our selection. That even if your decision ends up being a failure, you can sleep easier knowing that you used best practice. The main text of the report I don't want to see detailed analysis of each of these tools. They should be summarized there or mentioned, and then refer back to this appendix where you have all your work. I think I talked about this in the past, but this is an academic assignment, and I don't expect you to sit down in focus groups and interview clients and those sorts of things. You're gonna have to pretend a little bit, and you're gonna have to make a lot of assumptions. It'd be great if you're doing this assignment to make real recommendations at your work, and you can actually work through some of these at work while you're at work. That'd be great. But I understand that not everyone can do that. So you're going to have to, I guess, use your imagination a little bit. And then in all scenarios, even if you are working through in reality, like with your teams at work to develop and build out your recommendation, you're still going to have assumptions. There's always going to be assumptions. And in the report, in a strong report, you're going to clearly state your assumptions, right? And be very honest about uncertainty. Don't sugarcoat things to management. There's nothing worse than saying I can get it done in 3 weeks when it takes 6 weeks. Because you think they want to hear 3 weeks. You got to be honest. That's what management wants to hear. And then explain the risk, clearly explaining the risks, and then giving ideas and thoughts on how to mitigate risk. These are some of the best ways for success in framing a decision to a client, a boss. It's laying it out there. Don't try to have wishful thinking on exactly if the perfect scenario happens, I can get this done exactly for this much money. It's, hey, here's best case scenario. Here are all the risks with best case scenario. More likely is this scenario, which is going to be this much money. So a strong report doesn't ignore risk and uncertainty. It shows leadership that you understand uncertainty and still are confident in making a recommendation that this is the best choice going forward. So in your report, you evaluate options, but you have to make one preferred option. You have to make the recommendation. I don't want to see, here's like 7 options. Good luck. Or here's like the pros and cons of all these different options. You choose. Management is asking you to decide and to make that recommendation. What is the way forward? So make sure that in your report you're giving that option, the option, and not just leaving it hanging to here's a few different good options, here's the pros and cons. Management is asking you to do it. I think it's good to acknowledge trade-offs, the pros and cons. Explain what's gained and lost, but selecting that preferred option, the recommended option for management. Think about your audience as you're writing this. Think about it as a busy manager, a busy boss, a busy leader. That's who you're writing for. You're not writing for a professor. You're writing for somebody who's got a few minutes. They want to make a quick decision based on somebody who's spent a lot of time researching and making sure that the decision's right. So if it's to your boss, to leadership, where you work, what do? Make sure the tone's professional, business-like. Use headings, make it clear. Be concise. Use visuals appropriately. Use them when they help explain an issue. Don't just throw a bunch of pretty colors and, that stuff starts to confuse you. A couple really well-targeted visuals to help support your paper go a long way. Ask yourself as you're kind of reviewing drafts of this, if leadership were to read this quickly, skim it, would they understand the issue, their options, and the recommendations? I'm sure many of you, all of us, we get those emails that are like this long. And I just roll my eyes and what's the point? If you can convey the point simply and quickly, you can have all that backup, put it in the appendix. A little more about AI. AI is a useful tool for brainstorming, helping you with those tools, refining ideas, maybe identifying areas, weaknesses in your paper or your argument. It's a tool to help you think, but it shouldn't replace your thinking. I am looking for management is looking for you to use your judgment to make these recommendations, your ethics. It's looking for your quality work. A very weak report is going to be one that's AI written, right? So I think AI is super helpful. Just to help you identify those tools is going to be great. Here's my problem. Here's a bunch of tools. What are the best tools? That's going to be great. But you can't use AI to make the decision for you. There's going to be nothing worse than when your problem fails, your recommendation fails, and then someone starts to challenge you about it, and you say, well, this is what ChatGPT told me to do. You want to be able to fall back on, well, here's the 10 items I worked through, and these are all industry best practices. I came to the recommendation based on my analysis using these tools. So AI, super helpful. It's going to be very helpful in this report. Definitely encourage you to use it to help as a thought partner. But you forming your ideas, your final judgment on making recommendations, that's going to be up to you. So I think, you know, semester moves quickly. You're going to make your selection of tools to use. I think working slow and steady the rest of the semester on this assignment is going to help you go a long way. Every day, every other day, spend some time working on it. You don't want to be at the last minute trying to jam a bunch of these tools together. It's going to show up in the work quality. It's going to show up in your recommendation. You know, the most important part of this report is you feeling confident making making a recommendation that leadership is going to be able to act on. You know, maybe to close, I think if you keep the assignment practical, decision focus, professional, you're going to be in a strong position to have a good paper. So good luck. I look forward to seeing what everybody comes up with. I look forward to seeing your work through those tools. Yeah, good luck. Thanks.